All right, welcome to the lesson on graphing quadratic equations and functions. So when we are graphing quadratic equations, we are typically looking at equations that are in this standard form, which is f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where you are given, for example, here I have 3x squared plus 6x plus 2. You may recognize this format from when we factored and FOILed things in the last section. And that's exactly what we're doing. Now we're just graphing these. So there's a couple things that you need to know before we get started, okay? This 3 is considered your A term because it is in front of the x squared. The 6 is considered your B term because it is in front of the x, and this 2 is considered your C term. This is very important to know the difference between your A, your B, and your C, because as we go into graphing it and as we go into other ways of solving quadratic equations, this is going to be the format you're going to see, and you're going to see A, B, and C pop up all over the place. Okay? The first piece of information we need to know when we are graphing a quadratic equation is that it is in this shape that you see right here. This shape is called a parabola. A parabola. This parabola can open up or it can also open down. Okay? So, the after we know that there's an x squared, we know automatically that it's going to be shaped in this U shape, okay? And in this U shape, in the parabola, there's a couple different things we need to know. The bottommost point or the topmost point, if you had it as a, if it was upside down, like that. So either the bottommost point or the topmost point is going to be called your vertex. Okay, your vertex. This is going to be determined by finding the axis of symmetry, which is this formula, x equals negative b all over 2a, which is again where we're getting our a and our b here. So this will all make more sense as we get into the examples and are actually doing a problem. So let's start that right now. So it says graph the function of x, or f of x, or y, equals 2x squared plus 4x minus 3. So my first step is to find my axis of symmetry. So I'm going to determine that my A equals 2, my B equals 4, and my C equals negative 3. And I am getting all this information right here in the formula. Okay, so now I'm going to plug it into this information. I have negative b, so negative 4, over 2a, so 2 times 2. Solve this out, so I have negative 4 over 4, which is going to equal negative 1. So this means that x equals negative 1, which is our axis of symmetry. This is where you have to start graphing. So I'm going to graph a line, and I'm going to use my little line tool so I don't totally mess this up. And I'm going to go on my coordinate plane. On my x-axis, I'm going to find negative 1, and I'm going to create my axis of symmetry right here. It's always a dotted line, and this tells you where your parabola will kind of go around, okay? So this is just where your parabola is going to be situated. So the next step is to find your vertex. Remember, the vertex is either that bottom most point or your topmost point. Okay, so I'm going to use this information that I have here. I know that x equals -1. Hey, look, there's x's in my formula. So I'm going to plug this right in. I'm going to go 2 times -1 squared. I'm getting this from up here again, plus 4 times -1 minus 3. And I'm going to solve. This is going to give me my y value. That way I have a coordinate point to graph for my vertex. So -1 squared is just 1, so I have 2 times 1. 4 times -1 is -4 minus 3. 2 times 1 is 2, so I have 2 minus 4 minus 3, which 2 minus 4 is -2. -2 minus 3 is -5. All right, so now I have my coordinate point. I have my x value, which is -1, and I have my y value, which I just found is -5. So I'm going to go on my coordinate plane. I'm going to go -1, -5, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make a nice little dot there. That is going to be my vertex. Okay, so just to review what we just did, we used the x coordinate you found for the axis of symmetry, which was -1, and we plugged it into the function. In this case, it was 2x squared plus 4x minus 3 to find the y coordinate, which in this case we found was -5. We went on to our coordinate grid and we found our vertex. We graphed our vertex. Our vertex will always be on the axis of symmetry. All right. The last the last step we're going to do is actually plot some points around our axis of symmetry. So in this case, it says choose x values on either side of your axis of symmetry. So in this case, on this side or on this side. And remember, quadratic functions are symmetric about the axis of symmetry. That means that they are going to be reflections of each other on either side. I'll show you what that means once we graph it. So I'm going to make, probably the simplest way to do it is just to make an XY table, which I know I can hear the groans through the computer. Why do we have to do an XY table? Ah, I hate these. Just deal with it. Okay, so you are going to get, I'm going to pick 0 because that seems easy for my X value here. And then I'm going to pick -1 because that also seems really easy to do. I'm going to solve these by plugging in 0 into my x's in this. So I'm going to do 2, and I'm not even going to show this to you because you know how to do it already. 2 times 0 squared is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. Plus 4 times 0, which is 0. So we've got 0 plus 0 minus 3. So it's going to be -3. Now I'm going to do the same thing with -1. This is going to be a little bit more, or sorry, I'm going to do -2. Duh. -2. Okay. And I'm going to plug it into here. So I'm going to do that real quick. All right, and hey, look, once I solve it, it's going to be -3. All right, so then I'm going to go over here, -1, 2, down 1, 2, 3, put a point there. I have the starts of, you can see a little U shape here. If I wanted to plot some more points, I can for use of time. I'm just going to draw my parabola as best I can on my computer. And there I have successfully graphed a quadratic function. Really long process. I know. I understand. So let's do one more. Okay. So first step, remember, is to use this lovely axis of symmetry formula. Next step is to find the vertex. Last step is to plot the points nearby. So we're going to choose x values on either side of our x-axis and our axis of symmetry and graph them. So I am going to find my a. In this case, it's a -1. So a is -1. B is 6. Bam, bam. And C is 7. Bam. Okay. So I'm going to take that information, I'm going to plug it into here. So I have -b, so -6 all over 2a, which is 2 times -1. So we've got -6 over -2, which -6 over -2 is +3. I'm going to go over to my -3 here, or my +3, I'm sorry. I'm going to go, come on, 1, 2, 3, make my line, my axis of symmetry. Step 1, done. Okay, now I'm going to find the vertex. I'm going to use my x-coordinate, which in this case was -3, plug it into this information up here. So I'm going to do that real quick. So I have oh jeez, it's getting all fancy on me. -3 oops, sorry. Okay, plugging in 3, it's not negative. Starting over. Having technical difficulties, clearly. Okay, negative, and because it's part of the formula, so then 3 squared. Notice how I put parentheses around the 3 because it's separate. Plus 6 times 3 plus 7. So 3 squared is 9, so I've got -9 plus 6 times 3, which is 18, plus 7. So I'm going to do -9 plus 18, which is just +9, 9 plus 7, which is 16. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go 3 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Uh-oh. I'm going to be like way up here. Okay. My coordinate plane is not big enough. Okay. Then I'm going to choose x values on either side of our axis of symmetry. So I am going to pick, in this case, I'm just going to pick 4, and I'm going to pick 2. Create my XY table. So I have 4 and 2. Find out what those are. I'm going to do that real quick for sake of time. I'm not going to bore you with solving them, so I'm going to solve them very quickly. All right, so I got 15 for each. If you're noticing that in both our problems, like in this one, the y values were both -3, which means that this is a mirror image of it. You're also going to notice that since I was 1 away from each side of my axis of symmetry with picking 4 and 2, then I'm also going to both end up with the same answer, so 15. Saves you some time. So I am going to over here, it's probably going to be about here and about here. And in this case, my parabola is going to be facing down. All right. If you want to try one on your own, I would totally suggest doing that. So if we were to write this in the correct form, it would be 7x squared plus 30 minus 9. So if you want to try one on your own, I would try and graph this right here. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Sorry about the long video. It is a long process. You can handle it. I promise. Okay, so please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.